It is 7 in the morning here, in what used to be the outskirts of Norfolk, Virginia. I'm sitting here in a room that smells like wet plywood and metal because everything outside is water now. I can see the sky through a crack in the boards over the window. It looks the same as yesterday. Gray, heavy, low. You can smell the salt even with everything closed up. It gets into everything. It's on your skin, on the floor, on the wires I use to keep this little thing running. I guess I should tell you who I am. My name is Berto Evans. If you can still hear this voice, it means I got the generator to work one more time. It means you and I are still here for another morning, and that has to count for something now. Pretend you've just connected to this frequency. What do you tell the world in 15 seconds? The air is sticky today. Not just wet. It feels like the inside of a mouth. When you breathe it in, it sticks in your throat. I don't know if that's because of the water or because so many things out there are rotting at the same time. Every time I go up to the roof and look out, it's worse. Houses half under. Boats that used to be tied up somewhere floating into the neighborhoods where the schools used to be. I can see the tops of the trees. They look like strange islands now. Birds are still out there. That's something. They fight for the little bits of dry wood that drift past. They seem just as lost as the rest of us. I don't know what time the power finally went out for good. I remember the lights flickering a lot for a few days before it. Then one morning they just didn't come on. The phone lines had already been down for days at that point. And I swear, I thought someone was going to fix it. You think someone always will. I've lived here my whole life. There's always been somebody who shows up when the weather hits hard. Crews, trucks, helicopters sometimes. But this time, there's just nothing. No hum of engines. No voices on the street. Just water hitting walls. I still remember the night it started. I was here in this same room with the little battery radio. It was late. I couldn't sleep. I heard the wind start to push harder than usual. I thought it was a normal storm. It's Norfolk. Storms roll through all the time. But then the sound changed. It sounded like the ocean itself had gotten up and started walking. I opened the door to look, and I swear, I could hear it before I could see it. It wasn't a slow rise. It wasn't something you could prepare for. It came like a stampede. All at once, the water was on the street, over the cars, coming down the side of the buildings like someone had opened the sky. I stood there, holding the frame of the door until my neighbor shouted at me to shut it. He was already waist deep in it. By the time I pushed it closed, I could hear things hitting the outside of the house. Trash cans, tires, maybe people. I didn't want to think about it. It didn't stop. That's the part that gets me. We thought it was going to be a bad storm. You sit it out. You watch the news until the screen goes black. Then you go outside and it's a mess, but it's over. That didn't happen. That first night, the water didn't go back. The next day it was higher, and the next day after that. You'd think after so many hurricanes and floods in this part of the country we'd know what to do. But this is not something you know how to do. We've got whole streets underwater, and it keeps climbing. That was 3 weeks ago now. The only dry place I've got is the upstairs of this building, and I keep moving the things I need higher and higher, like a rat trying to stay above the tide. I don't know if you can hear me in the other parts of the city, or if this little signal even goes that far anymore. I'm running this on a car battery I drag inside every night. I have to charge it with a crank because gas is gone now. It's the only way I can keep this old radio transmitter alive. If you hear me, I guess that means the wire I set up on the roof is still doing something. They said these old radios could reach across the bay, sometimes further. I hope that's true. If you're out there and you're hearing this, then I guess I'm talking to you. The weird thing is how quiet the sky has been. The first few days I thought I'd see helicopters, planes, anything. But it's been empty. I don't know if that means nobody's coming, or if nobody can. Once the water got high enough, the bridges all went under. The highways were gone after the first 2 days. I saw a couple of trucks get stranded on 64. Then nothing. I tried to walk up there once. It's just a river now. I don't think there's a way out of this city anymore except by boat, and there aren't many of those left that work. I've been keeping track of how things fell apart. It might sound pointless, but writing it down or saying it out loud makes me feel like I'm not just watching the world dissolve. Phones were the first to go. First it was spotty, then the calls started cutting out. Then you couldn't call at all. That was maybe 2 days before the storm. Then the power started flickering. Some of us still had the internet for a while. People were sharing pictures, videos, the water rushing through Miami, Jacksonville, Charleston. You saw the same comments on all of them. People asking why nobody had said anything, like there had been no warning, just water coming out of nowhere. That was the first time I thought, this isn't just another hurricane. There was no name for this one. They didn't even try. When the grid went down, I thought it was just the storm. But it's not just that. It's everywhere. I heard something on one of the big AM stations the day before they cut out completely. Some scientist or weather guy saying the sea levels didn't make sense. They had risen too fast. It wasn't tides, he said. It was like something had broken in the balance of it all. That was the last normal thing I heard on the radio. After that, just static. I've been trying to keep this thing going because even if no one answers back, it's better than talking to the walls. I talk because maybe somebody needs to hear a voice that's still calm. Or maybe I need to hear it myself. Maybe both. I've been going outside once a day to look around and see what's changed. It's always something. There are more boats now that no one's steering. There are more cars half under the water, rusting so fast they look like they've been there for years already. Yesterday I saw a kid on top of a mailbox with a bucket. I waved at him, but he just stared at me. He looked so tired I didn't even try to talk. When I came back out, he was gone. I hope someone got to him. I don't know. I don't know what we're supposed to do now. Food is running out. Stores are all soaked. You can still find cans if you're lucky. Water is tricky. You can't drink this stuff. It's full of whatever washed out of the sewers and everything else. I boil mine on a little camping stove I keep up here. Sometimes the flame goes out from the wind coming through the cracks. Sometimes I think about how stupid it is that we thought we could just build everywhere like this would never happen. But that's what we do. We build, and then we wait for the sea to take it back. I've been looking at the way the buildings lean now. Some of them weren't made to stand in water. You can see them slanting like they're tired, like the walls themselves know they're not supposed to be here anymore. I saw a church steeple fall 2 days ago. It just gave up. The sound echoed across the water like thunder. I guess I'll stay on this air for as long as I can keep the battery alive. If you can hear me, stay above the water. Don't try to move around at night. That's when the water gets faster and you can't see where it's pulling. If you've got canned food, stretch it out. One can last a day if you try, and if you still have people around you, stick with them. Even if you don't talk, just don't leave each other. I'll come back on when the battery's charged again. Maybe tonight, if I make it through. I sat here for hours last night after I turned the signal off. I couldn't sleep. The wind made the walls creak like they were breathing. I kept thinking about the sound of that church steeple falling. It hasn't left my head. The sound of something that was supposed to stand forever just giving up. It makes you realize how thin everything really was. How quick it can be stripped away. I went up to the roof early this morning. The air was still. The water looked like metal. You know how sometimes the sea looks alive? This doesn't. It looks dead, smooth and heavy and wrong. You can see pieces of houses floating by if you stare long enough. Roof shingles, a window frame, a kid's toy, a basketball hoop. All of it drifting slow like it's being pulled to one place. I don't know where. It's funny. Before all this, I used to listen to people talk about sea level rise. It was always a future thing. Charts and numbers. Something to worry about in 2050 or 2100. Not in my life. Not here. But this isn't gradual. This is like the planet just skipped all the steps and jumped ahead. 3 days ago, I heard something. Not voices, not boats. It was this low roar, like a waterfall far away. I climbed up to see if maybe there was a ship or something. Nothing. Just water. But it kept getting louder, and I swear the horizon looked different. I don't know if something broke out there. A dam? An ice shelf? Something. But by the next morning, the water was higher than ever. And the weird thing is, the sound just stopped, like someone shut it off. I don't know what that means. I've been trying to think about what caused all this. Back before the last AM station went silent, someone said it wasn't just melting ice. They said something about underground plates shifting, about something in the seafloor itself breaking open. They said it could be gases trapped down there, shifting the pressure of the whole ocean. It sounded crazy at the time, but nothing else makes sense now. Do you know how strange it is to live in a place you've known your whole life and not recognize it anymore? The streets I grew up on are gone. The ball field where my dad used to take me is a swamp. The school is just a roof now. You try to hold the map of it in your head, but the lines don't match. I keep thinking about the first day after the water came. People were running everywhere, carrying bags, carrying kids. There was this one family that passed by the front of this building. The dad was holding a fish tank. Out of everything they could grab, they chose that. It had this little orange fish swimming inside. That image has stuck in my head more than anything. The way people try to hold on to something small when everything else is falling apart. By the second day, people started yelling for help. You could hear it from all directions. I remember leaning out of the upstairs window looking for them. But you couldn't tell where the voices were coming from. And then one by one, the voices got fewer. Now it's just quiet. Every time I try to sleep, I think about how fast it all collapsed. You think things will go in steps, that there'll be a warning, a process, but it's like the floor was yanked out from under everyone at the same time. Power went, phones went, stores were stripped bare in hours. You see people carrying bread in one hand and their kids in the other. Then after the third or fourth day, you see nobody. It's like the city just swallowed them up. I found a notebook yesterday in one of the rooms downstairs. I've been writing things down. What food I have left, how much water I can boil each day, how long I can keep the generator going. It helps. It feels like a plan, even if it's barely anything. If you can hear this, there are a few things you need to do. If you still have a dry place, stay there. Don't move around unless you have to. If you can, start collecting any wood that's still dry. Doors, chairs, anything. You can burn it to boil water, or keep warm if the nights get colder. Look for old tools. Things that don't need power. Hammers, nails, rope. Those things matter now. I've started to figure out a routine. I wake up at first light. I go up to the roof and look around. If I see something useful floating by, I try to pull it in with a piece of wire. Then I check the battery, wind the crank, and start boiling some water. After that, I just sit. Sometimes I talk to myself. Sometimes I talk into this mic, even if the power's off. I just pretend someone's on the other side. I don't know if anyone from outside can reach this city anymore, but if you can, and you have a boat, try to stay near high places. The water is full of things you can't see. It moves fast under the surface. It can take a whole car without even making a sound. I wonder sometimes how many people are still out there listening. Maybe it's just a handful. Maybe it's just me. But if you are there, and if you can still hear me, try to keep yourself together. Even if everything else falls apart, just for one more day. I'm still here. The rain started again last night. It wasn't heavy, not like the first night. It just fell and kept falling. It made this slow tapping on the boards over the window, and I just sat there listening to it. I don't even bother trying to sleep when it rains anymore. It feels like the sound is reminding me that it's not done with us yet. I stayed up, looking at the dim light of this battery, just turning things in my head. It's strange what you end up thinking about. Not big things, not the world, just small things. Like the way coffee smelled in the morning, like the sound of someone walking up the stairs, back when the stairs were dry. When the rain slowed down, I opened the window for a few minutes to let the air move through. It smelled like seaweed and rust, the kind of smell that sticks to the back of your tongue. I could hear something moving far away. A groan. It could have been a building. Could have been a tree that finally fell. You can't tell anymore. This morning, I went up to the roof again. Every day it looks less like a city. I used to be able to see the outlines of the neighborhoods in the distance. The rooftops made these neat little lines. Now they look like random shapes, like pieces of a broken puzzle floating apart. You can't tell what was what. I could see a single car on top of what used to be a parking garage. It's tilted, like it was dropped there by a giant hand. It must have been pushed there by the flood. Things end up in places you can't explain. It feels like everything is drifting, not just the buildings and cars, but people too. Like we're all just loose now. I was thinking about my brother this morning. He lived out by Richmond. I don't know if he made it. I tried calling him on that first night, but the lines were already jammed. By the next day, the phones were gone. Sometimes I imagine he found a boat. Maybe he's somewhere higher. I hold on to that thought when it gets too quiet in here. I've been thinking about how different people were in those first few hours. At first, everyone was trying to help each other. People grabbing strangers by the arms, pulling them out of the water, sharing anything they had. Then, as the days went on, you could feel it changing. People started looking at each other differently, like everyone else was something you had to get past to survive. By the third day, nobody was looking anyone else in the eye. I saw a group break into a pharmacy 2 streets over. They weren't even running, just walking slow, carrying bags over their shoulders. They didn't even look around to see if someone was watching. I think people stopped caring about rules after the first week. It's not that the rules changed, it's that they don't matter when there's no one left to enforce them. I've been rationing what I have. 1 can of beans can last me a whole day if I split it between morning and evening. I found a jar of peanut butter a couple of days ago. That's gold now. The problem is water. You can't just scoop it out of the flood and drink it. I've seen what's floating out there. Every time I boil it, I can still smell the salt. My throat feels raw most of the time. I've been thinking about the first time I heard the static take over the radio. You don't realize how much you depend on that sound of other people talking until it's gone. 1 minute there's a voice, telling you to stay calm, telling you where the shelters are. And then it just goes flat. I've been turning the dial every day since then, just hoping to catch something. Sometimes I think I hear a voice in the noise. Sometimes it's just the wind shaking the antenna. If you're hearing this, and if you still have a way to send a signal back, I wish I could tell you where to reach me. But I don't even know if this frequency is steady. It drifts. I just keep talking because maybe that's all I can do now. You need to know that the water hasn't stopped rising. It's slow now, but every morning the line on the walls is a little higher. If you have a second floor, stay up there. If you don't, try to find one. If you see something floating that looks strong enough to hold you, grab it. It doesn't have to be pretty. Doors, barrels, anything. You'll need it. I saw a boat yesterday. First one in a week. It was small. An aluminum fishing boat. There were 3 people in it. They were paddling with pieces of wood, no motor. They didn't even look toward me. They just kept moving. I wanted to call out, but I stopped myself. I don't know why. Maybe because I didn't know if they would stop or if they even could. It feels strange to say this, but the city is quiet at night now. You'd think it would be loud with everything moving, but it's not. It's like the whole place is holding its breath. The loudest sound is my own heart when I wake up from a dream, and for a second, I forget where I am. Then I hear the water lapping at the walls, and I remember. Sometimes I wonder if this is it, if this is just how it's going to be from now on. A wet world with no order, no map. Just a bunch of people on rooftops and boats trying to remember what it felt like to walk on dry ground. Then I shake that thought off and try to make it to the next morning. That's all you can do. Just make it to the next one. I'll try to stay on the air as long as the battery holds. If the signal drops, it means I had to stop and start cranking again. If you hear silence, don't think it means I'm gone. It just means I'm trying to get it back up. The wind hasn't picked up yet today, but I know it will. It always does in the afternoon. The mornings trick you into thinking the water might stay calm, that maybe it's going to be one of those still days where nothing changes. Then around 2 or 3, it starts pushing again, like it remembers it has a job to do. I think about that a lot, how the water doesn't stop. It just keeps going. It doesn't care what's in its way. I went out earlier, not far, just down to the lower level where the water reaches up to my knees now. There's this set of stairs I use to climb down and check if anything has floated in that I can use. Today, there was a broken chair wedged in the railing. The wood's soft, but I might be able to dry it out enough to burn later. When I pulled it loose, I could see the marks on the wall where the water has been rising. It's almost up to the light switch now. I brought up a couple of plastic bottles I found floating in the stairwell. I can clean those out and use them for storing water once I boil it. That's what it is now. Walking into cold, dirty water to grab things that people used to throw away. A year ago, I wouldn't have even looked twice at a bottle like that. Now, it's worth the risk. While I was down there, I noticed the smell getting stronger. It's not just the sea anymore. There's this heavy sourness now. I don't know if it's from garbage or from things I don't want to think about. It clings to everything. The generator is still running, but I can tell it's getting weaker. I crank it as much as I can, but the battery's not holding a charge like it used to. I'm starting to wonder how long I can keep this up. Every time the signal dies, the silence gets heavier. I hate it. You know what else I've noticed? The birds. There aren't as many now. A few days ago, there were gulls everywhere, circling the water, screaming like they always do. Today I saw maybe 3. They flew over and didn't even land. Maybe they're smarter than us. Maybe they know there's nothing left here for them. I used to see cats on the rooftops too. Stray cats just darting around between places. I haven't seen any since last week. I hope they found higher ground, but deep down I know what probably happened. There's something about this kind of quiet that makes your head go to places you don't want it to. You start thinking about everyone you've ever known, people you never even liked much. You wonder where they are, if they made it. You picture them sitting on some rooftop miles away, doing the same thing I'm doing, wondering if there's anyone left who remembers their name. I think about my mom a lot. She passed away years ago, long before this, but I can almost hear what she would be saying if she saw all this. She'd be telling me to keep my head, to just focus on what's in front of me. That's all you can do, Berto. One thing at a time. She used to say that when I was a kid and I'd get all worked up about something. I hold on to that now. One thing at a time. I found an old radio headset in one of the other rooms upstairs. It still works, at least a little. I can plug it into the transmitter so I don't have to hold the mic the whole time. Makes it easier to talk. It also makes it easier to hear how thin my own voice sounds. Sometimes I don't even recognize it. If anyone out there has a way to hear this, I want to tell you something. Don't waste your energy trying to wait for things to go back. They're not. At least not for a long time. If you can, start figuring out what you can do with what's right around you. If you still have a way to make fire, keep it. If you still have something sharp, keep it close. And if you've got people, don't let go of them. I think a lot about the moment the phone stopped. It was late at night, maybe 1 or 2 in the morning. I had been trying to get a hold of my brother, my friend from high school, anyone. The signal just kept cutting in and out. Then there was this long tone, like the system was choking, and it went dead. I stared at the screen for a long time after that, like maybe if I stared long enough it would light back up. It never did. It's strange how fast you get used to not having it. Now when I see a phone lying in the water, I don't even think about picking it up. It's just a dead piece of plastic, a reminder of how loud everything used to be. I saw a roof cave in yesterday. It was a little store 2 streets away. It had been holding out, but the water must have eaten away at the walls. It folded in on itself like paper. I heard the crash from up here. The splash reached halfway up the other building. I keep thinking about the sound. Everything here has a sound that sticks to you. This morning I saw another boat. This one was smaller, just 1 person in it. They were rowing slow, like they were exhausted. They didn't even look up. I don't know if they saw me. Maybe they were just trying to keep moving because stopping feels like the same as giving up. I don't know if I'll ever leave this building. It doesn't seem like there's anywhere to go, and maybe staying put is better. At least here I know what I've got left. Out there, it's just a guess. I'll keep the mic open for a little while longer today. Maybe someone will hear. Maybe not. But I'll talk anyway. That's all I know how to do now. I can feel the air getting heavier again. It always changes before the afternoon hits. It's like the whole city takes a slow, deep breath before it decides to push everything around. The clouds are lower today. You can almost touch them from up here. They hang so close that sometimes it looks like they're leaning against the tops of the taller buildings. The light is strange too. It's not bright, not dim, just flat, like the sky doesn't care enough to choose anymore. I went up early today because I thought I heard something. Not voices. It was like a deep rumble, almost like thunder, but slower. It wasn't the kind of sound you hear in the sky. It came from far off, somewhere out where the city used to turn into land again. I stayed up there for an hour just listening. It came and went, like a heartbeat, slow and heavy. Then it stopped. Now it's quiet again, but it left this feeling in my chest, like something big moved under all this water. I don't know what's happening out there. I don't know if the land is breaking apart, if more water is coming, or if that sound was something collapsing that I'll never see. All I know is the city feels smaller every time something like that happens. Like we're standing on the last little bit of what's left, and it's sinking too. This morning, when I went down to the stairwell to see if anything had floated in, I saw a picture on the wall. It was a family photo. It must have been stuck there from when the water first came through. The faces are all warped from being wet too long. You can't really tell who they are anymore. Just shapes of people smiling. It made me stop for a second. Someone stood right here once, nailed that picture to the wall, and thought it was going to stay there forever. Now it's just barely holding on to the peeling paint. I keep thinking about how many houses and apartments have things like that inside. Little pieces of people's lives, just floating around in the dark. That's the part that really hits you when you're alone like this. Not the big buildings that fall, not the cars, not the stores. It's all the little things that made up a life. That's what's really gone. I've been trying to remember the faces of the people I saw in the first days. Some of them, I don't think I'll ever forget. There was an older woman on a porch, clutching a grocery bag like it was the only thing she had left. I waved at her when I passed, and she just nodded, didn't say a word. I wonder every day if she's still out there somewhere, higher up, holding on to something else. I found 2 cans of soup this morning. They were stuck in a cabinet on the second floor that I hadn't checked yet. The labels are peeling, but they're sealed. That's 2 more days. It's strange how much finding something like that feels like winning now. 2 cans, 2 days. I've been looking at the wood from that broken chair I pulled in yesterday. I think I can dry it out by leaving it near the window where the sun still hits for a couple of hours. I'll need it soon. The nights aren't cold yet, but they will be. I've been thinking ahead, trying to figure out how to make a little fire without filling this place with smoke. Maybe I'll set something up on the roof with bricks from the walls downstairs, if it comes to it. I keep thinking about the people who left. In those first days, some people just started walking. They didn't have boats. They didn't have anywhere to go. They just walked into the water like maybe they'd find something better if they kept moving. I wonder where they are now. If they got stuck. If they turned back. if they're still walking, if you can hear this, if you still have your strength, don't just walk out like that. If you can stay high and stay safe, do it. Every time I've gone down into that water, I feel how strong it is underneath. It doesn't look like much, but it pulls. It grabs you when you're not paying attention. Don't trust it. There's a strange thing that happens after days of this. You start to forget the sound of cars. You forget what it felt like to walk into a store with lights and music. Even voices start to fade in your head. Now the only sound that feels normal is the water. It fills every space. When it's gone one day, I think the silence will sound wrong. Sometimes I sit here and I wonder how far this has gone. Is it just here? Just the East Coast? Or is the whole world like this now? I haven't heard a single voice on the radio since the second week. Not from DC, not from anywhere. Just silence. If the water has reached that far, if it's taken everything, then there's nobody left to say anything. That's the part that makes me want to keep talking even more. Just in case there's one person out there, just one, who needs to hear a voice that hasn't given up yet. I know there are people still out there, maybe on rooftops I can't see, maybe on little boats that drift past without looking up, maybe farther away on hills or mountains. I think about them. I hope they're making plans. I hope they're finding ways to stay alive. I hope they haven't decided to give up. I'm going to try to take a nap after I turn this off for a while. I haven't slept more than an hour at a time since this started. It's hard when every sound makes you sit up, but I'll try. Maybe when I wake up, there will be something new floating by, something I can use. I woke up a little while ago to the sound of something scraping along the side of the building. It wasn't the usual light knock of trash or branches. This was heavier. When I looked out from the upstairs window, I saw a long piece of wood drifting by. Looked like part of a dock or maybe a porch ripped clean off somewhere. It was wide, solid. I almost climbed down to try and grab it, but the current was fast today. I watched it drift away further and further until it vanished behind a line of rooftops. It hurt to let it go. Something that strong could have been used as a raft or to build something later. Out here, you see a piece of wood, and it feels like gold. It's strange to watch things float past that used to be nailed down so tight you never even noticed them. Everything that was stuck to the earth has been pulled loose. That's what this city looks like now. A box that's been shaken until everything's spilled out. The water looks different today. It's not smooth. There's a steady movement under the surface, like it's pulling everything somewhere. I stood there watching it for a long time. The pattern of it isn't natural. It doesn't flow like a river. It's like something far away is sucking it in. Every so often you see a little swirl, a small circle pulling down. It makes me wonder if there are holes forming beneath all this, deep places the water is rushing to fill. I've been keeping count of how high it has climbed since the first day. I scratched lines into the wall by the stairs. There are 21 now. Some lines are close together, some farther apart. That's how I can tell when the rise was fast and when it slowed down. It hasn't stopped. It's just slower now. But slower is still coming. I found a small metal box while I was checking one of the flooded rooms earlier. It was full of screws and nails. Most of them are rusted, but a few still look fine. That feels like treasure now. With those, I could maybe hold some things together, build something that won't fall apart after one night of rain. I put the box up high to keep it dry. keep thinking about the sounds from last night. After I signed off and shut everything down, the city felt so empty, I thought maybe I was the last one left. Then, out of nowhere, I heard something that sounded like a motor in the distance. Just for a minute. Then nothing. I don't know if it was real or if I just wanted it to be. If there's a motor out there, it means someone still has gas. It means someone's moving faster than the rest of us. When I close my eyes at night, I see the faces of the people I passed in the first days. They come back clear. There was a man carrying his mother on his back. There was a boy holding onto a dog so tight, I thought they were both going to drown. I see them all the time, even now, and I don't know if they made it. It's strange how your brain won't let you forget those first days. It replays them whether you want it to or not. The thing that stays with me most, though, is how quickly the city stopped making noise. The first couple of days it was constant shouting, cars honking, alarms going off. Then it just faded out, like someone turned the volume down on the whole world. By the end of the first week, it was only the sound of water moving and the occasional crash when something fell. Now, even that is rare. It's as if everything that could fall already has. I've started talking out loud to myself when I'm not on the mic. It helps. Otherwise, I feel like I'm disappearing into the walls. If you're out there and you can hear me, I want to tell you, talk, even if no one answers. It's better than letting the silence take over. The sky is a little clearer today. You can almost see a pale blue trying to show through. It feels strange to see color after so many days of gray. It doesn't make it any safer, but it feels like a memory of how things used to be, back when a blue sky meant a normal day. I don't know what's going on in the places outside this city. I've heard nothing from Washington, nothing from anywhere further inland. If you can hear this and you're higher up, somewhere where the water hasn't reached, don't waste that. Use it. Find other people. Make plans. Don't wait for someone to fix this for you. No one is coming. I've been trying to think about what I would do if the water gets up here. There's not much left to climb. After the second floor, it's the roof. And after the roof, there's nothing. That's the part I try not to think about too much. One day at a time. That's how I make myself keep moving. I'll stay on this frequency as long as the battery holds. If you can hear me, hold on. Even if everything feels like it's sinking, hold on. I'll talk again in a few hours when I've charged this thing up. Maybe by then there will be something new to tell you. Or maybe I'll just talk, because that's all that's left sometimes. The light outside has changed again. It's late afternoon now. Everything has that yellow tint that makes the flooded streets look like old photographs. It's not a warm yellow. It's the kind of color that makes everything look sick. The sky has been carrying that color for the last 2 hours, and it makes me feel like something is about to happen. I can't tell if it's more rain, or just the way the sun is trying to fight through all that heavy cloud. I just came back from the roof. I've been checking it every couple of hours now. You never know when something useful is going to drift past, and I'd hate to miss it. The water is moving faster this evening. There's a strong pull, all going in one direction. It makes me wonder if somewhere beyond the buildings there's a place where all this is breaking open, like a drain. It's strange to think about, but it feels real. The surface moves one way, but below it, you can feel something else pulling. I saw a door floating by earlier, a big, heavy front door. For a moment, I thought about trying to get it. It could be used as a raft if things get worse, but it was too far and moving too fast. That's the way things go now. Opportunities drift by, and sometimes you can't risk them. On the far edge of what I can see, a whole house is tilted, only the roof sticking out now. It wasn't like that yesterday. That means the water climbed higher overnight, and I didn't even notice. Every day something disappears, and the line of the city changes. I keep looking at the buildings I can still recognize and wondering how long they'll be standing. There's this weird thing that happens when you stare at the water long enough. You start imagining faces in it, shapes moving just below the surface. It makes you blink a lot, just to remind yourself it's not real. But sometimes, I'm not so sure. I saw a bird crash into the water about an hour ago. It was diving for something, but it didn't come back up. The water swallowed it like it was never there. I waited for it to come up, but nothing. That scared me more than it should have. If the birds can't make it, what chance do the rest of us have? I went down to the second floor earlier to look for anything else to eat. There are only 2 rooms I haven't searched yet. I pushed open the first one, and it smelled like mold right away. Everything in there was soft, ruined. Wet clothes stuck to the floor like paper. I did find an old backpack, though. The straps are still good. I can use it to carry bottles of water when I go down to collect them. While I was in there, I noticed something scratched into the paint on the wall. Just 3 words. We stayed too long. It looked like someone wrote it with a nail. I don't know who did it or how long ago, but it hit me hard. I stood there staring at it until I realized the water was creeping up around my shoes. I know I talk a lot about the water, but there's nothing else now. It's the only thing that moves, the only thing that decides what happens next. There's no sound of traffic, no sirens, no dogs barking, no voices. Just that. It's like the whole city has been replaced by one thing. I wonder what's going to happen when winter comes, if it even comes the way it used to. Will it freeze? Will the cold make everything worse? I think about that at night when the air starts to cool down. You can already feel the wind getting sharper. There are things I wish I had grabbed when I had the chance. Things you don't think about when the water is first coming. A good knife, a proper flashlight, a big jug to hold water. Once you're stuck in one place, all those little things mean everything. If you're out there listening and you still have time, grab those things before you grab anything else. I don't know why I'm talking so much tonight. Maybe because it's been so quiet. Maybe because I need to hear my own voice just to feel like I'm still here. I don't even know if anyone is listening, but I have to keep doing this, even if it's just me, sitting here in the dark, talking to the air. The battery is almost out for the night. I'll wind it again after I boil some water. That's my routine now. Wind, boil, talk, sleep, wake up, do it again. If you can hear this, try to rest tonight. If you have someone with you, stay close. If you're alone, talk out loud to yourself like I do. Don't let the silence take over. I'll be back on again tomorrow if I can. Maybe I'll see something new by then. Maybe I won't. Either way, I'll talk. The night was long again. I don't think I slept more than 20 minutes at a time. The wind came back around midnight, pushing against the walls like it wanted in. I could hear the roof creak. Every gust made it feel like the whole place was going to lean a little more. I stayed awake, staring at the ceiling, counting each time the wood bent and relaxed again. It's strange. You start to know the sounds of the building, like you know someone's breathing. You can tell when it's normal and when it's not. When it finally got quiet again, I went to the window. The water had climbed a few more inches. It's not much in one night, but you can tell. You know, because the things that used to stick out are gone the next morning. There was a little shed on the corner yesterday. Today, there's just water. I sat at the window until the sun came up. It wasn't much of a sunrise, just the dark turning into a gray that looked the same as all the other grays. The horizon is hard to see now. It all blends together. This morning I saw something float past that made me stop. It was a bicycle, just rolling along sideways, the wheels still spinning a little in the current. It's funny how something so normal can look so strange now. You forget what it looks like to see something you used to see every day. I went back down to the second floor to see if I could grab more water bottles. The air down there smells worse every day. It's heavy, like the walls themselves are rotting. I move fast now. I don't like staying down there for too long. I keep waiting for the floor to give out. In the last room I searched, I found a jacket. It's big, way too big for me, but it's dry and it has a hood. That's the first good thing I've found in a few days. When the rain comes, I'll be glad for it. While I was carrying it back upstairs, I heard something far away. It was a faint sound, but different from the usual, almost like a bell, a metal clanging, slow and steady. It came and went with the wind. I don't know if it was a buoy, or if someone out there was hitting something to make noise. I stood at the top of the stairs, listening until it faded out. I wish I could go look, but I can't risk it. I've been careful not to move far from here. Every time I think about leaving, I remember how fast things can change out there. You can be fine 1 minute and in trouble the next. And there's no one to pull you out if you make a mistake. It's been 23 days since the first flood. At least I think it has. I've been scratching lines into the wall for each sunrise, but sometimes I'm not sure if I counted one twice when I couldn't sleep. It doesn't really matter. Time doesn't work the same way anymore. It's just light and dark now. I was thinking earlier about the first week, how people still thought there was going to be help. You could hear them shouting, waving from rooftops, holding up signs. I thought the same thing. I thought any moment there'd be helicopters or boats, something. But they never came. Maybe they couldn't. Maybe there was no one left to send them. There was this moment around the 4th or 5th day when I realized no one was coming. It was in the evening, the sky was red, and I was on the roof looking for lights. It hit me all at once, that feeling that we were on our own. I sat down right there and stayed until it was pitch black. I didn't even try to sleep that night. Since then, I've been trying to figure out how to live like that, how to make every day about the next step, not the next rescue. If you're out there and you can hear me, that's what I want to tell you too. Don't wait for something that might never come. Start working with what's in front of you. Today, I'm going to try to fix the antenna on the roof. It's been leaning since that big gust of wind last week. Maybe if I can straighten it out, the signal will go farther. I don't know who I'm hoping to reach, but even just the chance is worth it. Before I do that, I'll boil some water. It's the first thing I do every morning now. I found a couple of small pieces of wood that are still dry, so I can use those today. It takes longer than it used to. You have to be patient. You can't just turn a switch and have what you need. You wait for the water to boil, and you watch it, and you don't let yourself think too far ahead. I wonder if this is how people lived a long time ago. Before power, before roads, before the noise. Maybe we're just back at the start. I'll try to come back on again later tonight. Maybe the air will be clearer by then. Maybe that sound, the one like a bell, we'll start again. If you hear this, keep holding on. I just got back down from the roof. I fixed the antenna as best as I could. It was leaning to one side, bent at the joint. I found some wire and a piece of metal pipe, tied them together, and pulled it straight. My hands are raw from twisting that wire. It's hard to tell if it will do much. I don't know if the signal can even go far anymore, but at least now it's standing up again. It feels good to have done something, even if I can't tell right away if it matters. While I was up there, I could see the water pulling harder than this morning. It's like watching something breathe. It moves in slow pulls, but strong. If you stand there long enough, you feel like it's trying to pull you with it, even from up high. I saw something strange too. Out in the far distance, where the water meets the edge of the sky, there was a shape. It looked like a building, but taller and sharper than the rest. It's new. I don't know if it was always there and I just couldn't see it before, or if the water has made something that wasn't visible rise up. It almost looked like a tower. I stared at it for a long time, trying to figure out if it was moving. I couldn't tell. For a moment, I thought maybe it was a ship, a really big one, something that got stuck out there when the water rose. But it didn't move like a ship. It just stood there. Then the light changed, and I couldn't see it anymore. Maybe it was just my eyes. The clouds have started to break a little. You can see slivers of pale sky between them. It's strange when that happens. It feels like the whole city holds its breath when the light comes through, even for a second. I felt the sun on my face for the first time in days. It felt like a memory. I've been thinking a lot today about the people I haven't seen. Friends, family, people who used to live in this neighborhood. When the water first came, I thought I'd see them. I thought we'd all be climbing to the same high places. But I haven't seen a single one. Not even once. Sometimes I wonder if they left early, if they had time to run. Other times, I wonder if they didn't make it. I found another note scratched into the wall today. This one was in one of the back rooms on the second floor. It said, "Gone for higher ground." Just that. No name, no date. It makes me think that some people had the right idea. They didn't wait. They just went. I hope they made it somewhere safe. The smell in this building is getting worse. It's in the walls now. It doesn't matter how many windows I open. It's like the building itself is soaked with everything that's out there. I try to keep the main room as clean as I can, but there's only so much you can do. I've been thinking about leaving more often. Not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon. If the water keeps rising and I run out of food, there won't be a choice. I'll have to try and build something and float out. The thought of it makes my stomach hurt. There's no plan for where to go. Just away from here. There's a sound in the distance again. It's faint, like yesterday. That slow, steady clanging. It's louder this time. I can hear it even with the wind pushing against the boards. I still don't know if it's a buoy or a person. Part of me hopes it's a buoy. Something steady. Because if it's a person, that means someone's been out there, hitting metal over and over, waiting for someone to come. I wish I could tell you where I am exactly. I wish I could say, if you can hear this, come this way. But there's nothing to use for directions anymore. Just water, rooftops, and the same gray sky no matter where you look. I still have the 2 cans of soup I found. I'm saving them for when things are really bad. For now, I'm sticking to the beans and whatever else I can scrape together. It's strange to think how easy food was before. You just opened a door and there it was. Now, every bite feels like something you have to fight for. I'm going to try to collect more bottles tomorrow. Maybe if I can store enough water, I can last another couple of weeks without moving. That's the plan for now. Before I stop for tonight, I want to tell you this. Don't wait too long to decide what you're going to do. If you're in a place that keeps getting smaller, start thinking about where you can go while you still can. It's hard to move when you're scared. It's even harder when it's too late. I'll be back on again later tonight after I boil more water and charge the battery. If you're listening, I hope you're safe right now. Hold on as long as you can. It's later now. The light has almost gone. You can tell when the night is close because the colors outside start to fade one by one. The water turns from that dull yellow to gray, then finally to a dark that looks like it has no bottom. The shapes of buildings become just shadows. You stop being able to tell what anything is. It all just blends together. The sound I was hearing earlier, the clanging, has stopped. It faded out around sunset. I sat by the window waiting for it to come back, but there's nothing now. I don't know if it was a person or a buoy or some metal piece banging against another. Maybe whatever it was has drifted too far away to hear anymore, or maybe it sank. When the sky gets this dark, the city feels even emptier than during the day. You can't see the water moving, but you know it's there. You can hear it. Sometimes I think I hear it brushing against the walls like fingers tapping, slow and steady. I set up the little stove again to boil water for the night. I used 2 small pieces of wood that I had been saving. It took longer to catch today. I sat there staring at it until the water started steaming. That sound, water boiling, is one of the few things that makes me feel calm now. It means for a little while, I'll have something clean to drink. After I boiled enough to fill the bottles, I sat in the corner with the light off for a while, just listening. You'd be surprised how many small sounds there are in a city with no power. A window creaking, a drop of water falling from one beam to another, something bumping against a wall in the distance. It's all soft, but it's there. I keep thinking about the people I used to talk to, my neighbors, people I'd see every morning on the way to work. I don't know where any of them are now. I used to live a life full of faces, and now there are none. It's just mine. Sometimes I wonder if anyone is listening to this, if this voice even makes it out past these walls. If it does, then at least there's still a piece of me out there, even if my body is stuck here. There's this thought that keeps circling in my head tonight. What if we don't come back from this? What if this is just the start of a new world where everything is scattered and floating, and no one ever lives on solid ground again? Maybe we were never supposed to build so close to the water. Maybe it just took everything back. I know I sound tired. I am tired. But I'm not done. I'll keep talking until the battery dies, and then I'll wind it again and keep going. That's the only way I know how to fight this, by making sure there's still a voice out there somewhere. If you're hearing this and you're scared, I want you to know something. Being scared means you're still here. It means you still care about tomorrow. That's all you need to hold on to right now. I'm going to sleep for a while once I turn this off. I'll wake up at first light and go to the roof again. See if the water has taken more of the city. See if something has drifted by that I can grab. See if that sound comes back. And if you can hear me, I'll be right here again tomorrow. Same voice, same place, talking as long as I can. I woke up to a strange light this morning. It wasn't the gray that comes every day. It was pale, with a hint of blue in it. For a second, half asleep, I thought it was snow. I climbed up to the window and looked out, and the fog was so thick that everything looked like it had been erased. The water and the sky were the same color. There was no horizon. It felt like I was floating in nothing. The sound was different too. Usually you can hear at least a little movement, a ripple, the slap of water against walls. This morning, nothing. It was like the fog swallowed every sound. I leaned out of the window as far as I could and still couldn't see past the next building. I waited for hours before I even tried to go to the roof. There's something about fog that makes you slow down. Every step feels like you might walk into something that wasn't there yesterday. I finally climbed up, and the moment I got out there, it felt like stepping into another world. You can't tell what's real when you can only see a few feet. I stood there for a long time, holding the railing, trying to see shapes. I kept thinking I saw movement in the fog, but it could have been the mist itself. There was a sound, though, soft, like an oar dipping into water. It came and went. I turned my head every way, trying to follow it, but it never got louder. Just there, then gone, like a ghost moving through the fog. I whispered, "Hello," without even thinking, but nothing came back. I don't know what I would have done if something did. The fog stayed heavy all morning. It started to lift around noon, just enough to see the tops of a few other buildings. That's when I noticed something new. There's a rooftop about 5 blocks away that I hadn't seen before. It must have been hidden behind the others. On it, there's a big square shape. A tarp, maybe, spread out, weighed down at the corners. It looked too neat to be random. I stared at it for a long time. If someone put that there, it means they're still alive. 5 blocks. That might as well be 50 miles in this water. But just knowing it's there changes something. For the first time in a while, I felt a pull. Like maybe I should try to get there. Not today. Not tomorrow. But soon. I came back downstairs and found myself thinking about how I'd even do that. I don't have a boat. I could try to make a raft with doors and the dock pieces I've seen float past, but I'd have to tie them together somehow. Rope is not easy to come by now. Every plan feels bigger than what I can do with 2 hands. After that, I went through another cabinet on the 2nd floor and found 3 glass jars. They were covered in dust, but they're solid. I can use them for water. Little victories like that matter. You start counting them, no matter how small. 3 jars mean I don't have to worry about water for a few more days. While I was up there, I saw something written in marker on the inside of one of the doors. It said, "If you find this, we're heading west." Nothing else. No names, no date. West. That word feels heavy now, like a direction that still has a chance. I came back up to the main room and sat by the radio for a while before turning it on. I turned the dial all the way up and down. Static everywhere. I stopped at one spot because I thought I heard a hum under the static. It was faint. Could have been my own breath. I stayed there for an hour just listening, hoping it would turn into a voice. It didn't. The fog is almost lifted now. You can see the tops of the taller buildings again. The shape with the tarp is still there. I keep looking at it. 5 blocks. It's the first sign I've seen in days that someone else might be holding on. If you're listening to this and you're still out there, keep making signs. Put something bright where someone can see it. It might be the only thing someone like me has to hold on to. I'm going to try and dry out the jacket I found yesterday. It's still damp, but I think it'll be good if another storm comes. I'll also start gathering the wood pieces I have. If I'm really going to try to make it to that rooftop one day, I need to be ready. Until then, I'll keep talking. I'll be here every morning and every night, as long as I can keep the signal alive. If you hear me, remember that you're not the only one left. The day felt longer than usual. Maybe it's because the fog didn't clear fully until late afternoon, and by then everything already felt heavy. The light today was thin, the kind that makes you tired no matter how much you sleep. I spent most of the afternoon on the roof. I sat with my back against the railing and just looked at that rooftop with the tarp 5 blocks away. It's strange to think that 5 blocks used to be nothing. A short walk. Now it looks like an ocean. You plan every inch of a trip like that. What you'd take, what you'd leave behind, how much food you can carry, how fast the water moves. I keep running it through in my head. I know I'm not ready. Not yet. If I tried right now, I wouldn't make it halfway. The current's too strong, and I don't have anything good enough to float on. The boards I've got are thin and scattered. They'd come apart the moment I pushed away from here. So I'm staying put, at least for a little while longer. There was something strange in the sky this afternoon. Around 3, I saw a line. At first, I thought it was just a break in the clouds, but then I realized it was smoke. A thin, dark line rising straight up, farther away than the tarp, probably out past what used to be downtown. I watched it for as long as I could see it. That means someone out there has a fire big enough to make a column like that, or something's burning on its own. I can't tell which is worse. The more I think about it, the more I realize I need to be ready to move soon. Not tomorrow, maybe not this week, but soon. The water keeps climbing, and this place won't last forever. Every line I scratch into the wall gets closer to the ceiling. The boards on the second floor are starting to feel soft under my feet. I tested a few with my weight. They bend now. It's only a matter of time before one gives way. If I fall into that water, I don't think I'd get back out fast enough. I've been thinking about the people who left messages in these rooms, the ones who wrote that they stayed too long, or that they went west. I keep wondering what it was like for them when they finally decided to leave. Did they stand in the doorway for a long time, looking back? Or did they just go, without looking? Today I found an old toolbox. Most of it is rusted through, but there was a small handsaw inside that still works. That feels like a big find. With that, I might be able to cut some of the bigger boards loose without breaking them. If I can get enough pieces, maybe I can make something to keep me above water. I keep thinking about that tarp. I boiled more water than usual tonight. I want to store as much as I can in the bottles and jars. If I ever do leave, I'll need every drop I can carry. The city has been quieter than usual tonight. No clanging, no sound of paddles, nothing. Even the wind has died down for now. I can hear my own breath louder than anything else. I'm starting to forget what a normal street looks like. In my head, every street now is half water, half broken buildings. I try to imagine sidewalks, cars, stoplights. I can't picture them clearly anymore. It feels like I've always been here, even though I know that's not true. If you're listening to this, and you're somewhere higher, and you can still see solid ground, hold on to that. Protect it. It's worth more than anything now. I'll try to sleep for a few hours, and then wake up at first light again. Tomorrow I'll work on gathering more boards. Maybe I'll find something else floating close enough to grab. And if you're out there, And if you're the one with that tarp, or the smoke, or the clanging, I see you. I don't know how to get to you yet, but I see you. The fog was gone this morning. I woke up early, and the air felt a little lighter, even though there was no sun. The first thing I did was check the rooftop 5 blocks away. The tarp is still there. It hasn't moved. That means it wasn't just something loose. Someone placed it there. It's neat, tight, deliberate. Every time I see it, I know there's a person behind it. The water was calmer than it's been for the past few days. You can still see the current if you stare long enough, but it's slower. I decided today was a day for collecting. I went down to the second floor, found the longest piece of wire I had, tied it to the end of a broken broom handle, and used it like a hook. Then I opened one of the windows that still has a ledge wide enough for me to sit on. It's a risk, because the wall is soft there now, but I had to try. I caught 2 boards this morning, both thin but strong enough to hold. They were part of a fence once, maybe. I tied them to the railing upstairs to dry. I also pulled in a plastic bin. The lid is cracked, but I can use it for storage, or maybe as part of the raft if I fill it with something light. Every piece matters now. You don't leave anything floating by anymore. While I was sitting there, I saw a pair of shoes float past. They were tied together by the laces, swinging slow in the current. It's strange the way little things like that stick with you. Who tied them? Did they leave them behind, or lose them? Were they running out of time? You make up stories for everything you see now, because you don't have the answers. I didn't hear the clanging today. No bells, no paddles. Just the quiet of the city. I think maybe that sound was real, and whoever was making it has moved on. It leaves me with the tarp and the smoke from yesterday. Those are my 2 signs now. I went back through the rooms today, searching again. Even though I know I've already checked them, sometimes you see something new when you look a second or third time. And I did. I found a roll of duct tape, almost half full. That might sound small, but out here, that's a big deal. Tape can hold boards together. It can make something float for longer. It can seal up a leak in a jar. I put it next to the handsaw. I stared at both of them for a long time. Those 2 things together make me feel like I have a plan. The water has risen again. It's not as fast as the first weeks, but every day it gets closer. I've been thinking about how much time I might have left here. Maybe 2 weeks if I'm lucky. Maybe less. I keep scratching lines on the wall, but the space between the lines is getting smaller. I went back up to the roof after sunset. I like to sit up there as the light goes away. You can see the water change colors as the day ends. Tonight, it went from gray to black so fast it was like someone turned a page. The city disappears with it. You just see the faintest outlines of the taller buildings, and then nothing else. While I was up there, I thought I saw a light. Just a small flicker, like someone shining something from the direction of the tarp. It was faint. I almost thought it was my eyes. I waited, staring at that same spot, but it didn't happen again. Still, I can't shake it. It means someone could be up there, looking out just like I am. If I could talk to them, I'd tell them to wait, to hold on, that I see them and I'm coming. I don't know when or how, but I'm coming. The air tonight is still, no wind. That means I might sleep a little easier. I'll keep the stove cold tonight and save the wood. I have enough boiled water from earlier to last until morning. If you can hear this, know this. I'm making a plan, and if I can make one, so can you. Start with something small. Boards, bottles, tools. One piece at a time. That's how it starts. I'll check for that light again tomorrow, and I'll keep talking, even if no one ever answers. I barely slept last night. Every time I closed my eyes, I kept seeing that flicker of light from the direction of the tarp. It was only there for a second, but it burned itself into my head. When I finally did fall asleep, I dreamed of walking across rooftops like stepping stones, trying to reach that spot. But every time I got close, the roofs sank under me. I woke up before the sun and sat by the window, waiting for enough light to see. The air this morning was colder. It's the first time since all this started that I could see my breath. It surprised me. I stood there for a while, watching the little cloud of air fade with every exhale. It made me think of winter, of what this will feel like when the temperature really drops. I try not to think too far ahead, but sometimes it sneaks in. When there was enough light, I climbed to the roof right away. The tarp is still there, like a square of color in a dead city. I stared at it for so long that my eyes hurt. No movement. No new light, just that still square. I can't stop imagining what's under it. Maybe someone has made a place like mine. Maybe there's a small group of them holding on, waiting for a reason to try again. I wanted to shout, but 5 blocks of open water will eat sound. It would just vanish. I sat on the roof for hours, pulling in whatever drifted by. Today I caught a big piece of foam. Not the kind that crumbles when you touch it. This one's solid, dense. That could keep me from sinking if I tie it to something. I also got a plank, heavier than the boards from yesterday. That one will be part of the base. My pile is starting to look like something that could become a raft. I've been thinking about rope all morning. That's the one thing I don't have. Without it, none of this matters. I searched through the building again, but all I've got is wire and tape. The tape will hold for a little while, but not long enough for a 5-block trip. I need something stronger. While I was searching one of the smaller rooms upstairs, I found a piece of chalk in a drawer. It was wet, but still usable. I took it to the wall by the window and wrote in big letters, "I see you. I will come." It probably won't be visible from the tarp, but it felt good to write it anyway. Like I was saying it to someone, even if they never see it. Around midday, I heard a noise. Not clanging, not paddles. It was like a voice. Faint. I froze. It was too far to hear words, but it was a sound I haven't heard in so long. A human sound. It came from the same direction as the tarp. I leaned as far over the railing as I dared, trying to catch it again. But the wind shifted, and it was gone. It doesn't matter. I heard it. I'm sure I did. I boiled more water than usual today. I want to be ready if something changes fast. The more I store, the more I can carry if I have to leave quickly. I've been using the jars I found, the bottles, even the plastic bin. Anything that can hold water is full now. Late in the afternoon, I saw something floating toward me. It was a long, twisted branch. I pulled it in and realized it was wrapped with an old length of rope. Wet, dirty, frayed, but rope. I almost laughed. I untangled it and stretched it out on the roof to dry. It's about 20 feet long, enough to tie a small raft together. It feels like someone handed me a piece of hope. I sat next to that rope until the sun started to go down. It was the first time in weeks that I felt something close to ready. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon. The sunset was red tonight, The water looked like fire for a while before it turned dark again. I stayed up there until the color was gone. The air is still cold. My jacket helps a little, but it's thin. I'll need to find more layers before I try to cross. If I fall in without them, the cold alone could finish me. I came back inside and wound the crank until my arm hurt. I want this signal to last as long as it can tonight. Maybe someone will hear it. Maybe the voice I heard will hear it. If you can hear me, hold on. I know where you are now. 5 blocks. I'll find a way. I was awake before the sky started to get light. I couldn't stop thinking about the rope. It's been sitting in a coil by the door all night like a promise. When I finally stood up, I put it on the table and untangled it again, just to make sure it wasn't a dream. It's frayed and soft in spots, but it's real. I pulled on it with both hands. It held. That means this plan might actually work. The air this morning was sharp. The cold is coming earlier every day now. My breath clouds every time I let it out, even inside. It makes the walls look like they're smoking. I kept rubbing my hands together while I boiled water because my fingers didn't want to bend. After that, I climbed to the roof. The first thing I did was look for the tarp. It's still there, right where it has always been, bright against the gray. I waited, hoping for a flicker of light or a shadow. Anything. Nothing. Still, I stared at it until I could picture it in my head even when I closed my eyes. Today, I pulled in another piece of foam, smaller than the first, but still solid. These are the pieces that will keep me from sinking. I've been tying them to the railing to dry in the sun. I don't want to wait too long, but I also don't want to rush and lose everything halfway there. The water was calm for most of the morning. Around midday, it started pulling again, slow and steady, all in one direction. You can feel it in your chest when it moves like that. It reminds you that no matter how still it looks on top, there's something alive underneath. I went down to the second floor again and pulled a couple of doors off their hinges. It was harder than I thought. The wood has swollen from being wet so long, but I managed to get 2 of them free. Heavy, but they float. I dragged them upstairs one at a time, my arms shaking from the weight. Those doors will be the base of the raft. I've been thinking about how I'm going to tie everything together. The rope will go first, to hold the biggest pieces, then the wire, then the tape. I want to make sure nothing can come loose when the water gets rough. While I was down there, I heard the voice again, faint, but clearer than before. It came through the empty windows, carried on the wind. I stopped what I was doing and held my breath. It was just a few sounds, not words I could make out. But I know it was a voice, a real one, and it came from the direction of the tarp. That's 2 days in a row now. Whoever it is, they're there. That voice has been in my head all afternoon. I can't tell if it sounded tired or strong. All I know is that it sounded alive. I've decided something. I'm going to try to reach them in 2 days. Tomorrow I'll spend the whole day building the raft, tying everything, testing it in the shallowest water near the stairwell. If it holds, I'll leave the morning after. 5 blocks. It doesn't sound like much, but out there it might feel endless. Before I leave, I'll say it here. I'll keep this transmitter on as long as I can while I move. If it cuts out, it means I've gone out of range or I've run out of power. If that happens, I'll turn it back on the moment I can. I won't stop trying to speak. The sky tonight is full of streaks, long thin clouds stretching out like lines drawn by a hand. It almost looks like the sky is pointing me toward that rooftop. I keep staring at those lines, trying to take them as a sign. I'm scared, more scared than I've been since this started. But I'm ready. I've been waiting too long to stay here forever. It's time to try. If you hear this and you're close to where that tarp is, look out for me in 2 days. I'll be the one holding on to a bunch of doors tied together, trying not to sink. I didn't sleep last night. I kept thinking about the raft, about every piece I need to tie down. I've been through the plan in my head so many times that I could close my eyes and see where every board will go. This morning, I started as soon as there was light. The first thing I did was carry everything up to the roof. The doors, the foam pieces, the planks, the rope, the wire, the tape. It took almost an hour to get it all up there. My arms feel like they're made of stone now. I laid the doors side by side and tied them together with the rope. The rope isn't as strong as I'd like, so I wrapped it as many times as I could, pulling until my hands hurt. Then I used the wire, looping it tight around the places where the rope felt weak. After that, I taped over every knot. It's not perfect. Nothing here is. But when I pushed against it with my foot, it stayed solid. I attached the 2 big foam pieces to the underside of the doors. I used the rope for one and the tape for the other. The smaller pieces I saved for tomorrow morning, so I can fill gaps once I see how it sits in the water. By noon, I was done with the base. I sat down, staring at it, trying to imagine how it will look when it floats. It's ugly. It looks like something a kid would build in a backyard. But out here, ugly is enough. I spent the afternoon testing how much I can carry without losing balance. A bag of food, bottles of water, the radio, and battery. That's all I'll take. I can't bring anything that weighs me down. When I came down to boil water, I realized how quiet today has been. No voices, no clanging. Even the birds are gone. It's the kind of quiet that makes your ears ring. I've been thinking about what tomorrow will be like. I'm going to test the raft in the shallow water near the stairs. If it holds, I'll sleep one more night here and leave at first light the next day. 5 blocks. That's all I need. I went back up to the roof at sunset and looked at the tarp again. It hasn't moved. The same neat square. If no one is there anymore, I'll still go. If the building is empty, at least I'll know I tried. But if someone is there, maybe this won't be the end of the line. As the sun went down, I saw something I haven't seen in weeks. A bird flew past. Just one. It circled the building once and disappeared into the direction of the tarp. I don't know if that means anything, but I'm taking it as a sign. Tonight, I'm going to sleep as much as I can. Tomorrow I test. The day after, I leave. I've said that to myself so many times it sounds like a prayer. If you can hear this, if you're near that rooftop with the tarp, I'm coming. I woke up before it was even light. The room was black, and for a second, I didn't know where I was. Then I heard the water moving below, and remembered. I didn't waste any time this morning. I cranked the battery a few turns just to get this signal started, then I went straight up to the roof. The air was colder than yesterday. My fingers felt stiff as soon as I touched the rope. The boards were wet from the night air, but they were still tied tight. I sat there for a few minutes, looking out at that square of tarp. It's strange how 5 blocks can feel like another country. Then I picked up one end of the raft and dragged it down to the second floor, inch by inch, over the stairs. It was loud, scraping on the wet wood. If anyone out there was listening, they would have heard me. The second floor is covered in water now. ankle deep at the higher spots. I stepped in slow. The water is ice cold this early. It makes your legs ache almost right away. I lowered the raft into the water carefully, holding onto the rope so it didn't float away. For a moment, I thought it was going to sink right under, but it stayed up. The foam helped. I put my weight on it slowly, one knee at a time, waiting for it to tip. It wobbled, but it didn't give. I sat there for a long time, testing how much it could hold. Me, a bag, a few bottles. It will work if I'm careful. I tied it to the railing and climbed back out. I spent another hour tightening the knots, even though my hands are cut up from the rope now. When I came back up, I boiled water and packed everything I'll need. 6 bottles of water, 3 jars, 3 cans of food, the small hand saw, duct tape, the radio and battery. That's it. That's all I can take. Everything else will stay here. I've been sitting next to the raft all afternoon, just staring at it. Every sound makes me look up. I keep waiting for the water to change, for a sign that I shouldn't go. But nothing came. Late in the afternoon, I heard the voice again. This time it was clearer. Just a few words, carried on the wind. I couldn't make them out, but it was a voice. Alive. Near the tarp. I almost shouted back, but the sound didn't last long enough. It faded away, and all I could hear was my own breathing. I'll sleep one last night here. Tomorrow at first light, I'll untie the rope and push off. I don't know how long it will take. Maybe an hour, maybe all morning. But I'm going. I'll leave this signal running as long as I can. If you're listening, and you hear the static cut out, it means I'm moving. I'll turn it back on as soon as I make it there. This will be the last night I spend in this building. If you can hear me, wish me luck. I didn't sleep. I just lay there all night listening to the water hitting the walls, thinking about what would happen once the sun came up. The first light came slow, creeping through the boards like a faint gray. I packed everything I'd set aside yesterday into the bag, double-checked the bottles, made sure the battery was cranked one more time so I could talk while I moved. When I got up to the roof, the air was so cold it made my throat sting. I took one last look at the square of tarp in the distance. It looked closer than usual, but maybe that's just because I've been staring at it for so long. I dragged the raft down the stairs, same as yesterday, only this time I didn't tie it off at the railing. The second floor is half water now, the door frame's just barely sticking out. I lowered everything onto the raft, the bag, the bottles, the radio. Then I sat down on it, my legs shaking so hard I could feel the boards move under me. I pushed away from the railing with my hands, and for the first time in weeks, I wasn't standing on anything solid. The raft wobbled, spun in a slow circle, then steadied. The water is colder out here. It has a smell, like metal and salt. Every time I dip my hands in to push, it bites into my skin. For a long time, all I could hear was the sound of the boards rubbing together under me and the water moving around the edges. The buildings on either side felt like cliffs. I could see things drifting below the surface, shapes, maybe furniture, maybe cars, maybe worse. You try not to look down too long. The first block was easy. The water was calm, and I stayed close to the walls, pushing with a piece of wood I'd saved just for this. The second block was harder. The current started to pull, slow but steady. I had to push against it to stay on course. My arms already ache. By the third block, I was breathing heavy, my hands raw from the wood. I stopped for a second to catch my breath, and that's when I heard it again. A voice. This time I could tell it was a man. He was shouting something, short bursts of sound. I turned my head and yelled back, but the wind carried my voice away. I pushed harder, closer to the sound. The fourth block felt like it would never end. The water got rougher, bumping the raft against the sides of the buildings. I had to keep my weight in the middle, holding on with both hands so I wouldn't tip. Then I saw it. The building with the tarp. Up close, it looks bigger than I thought. The tarp is tied across a flat roof, and I can see wooden boards piled under it. I shouted again. This time the voice answered. 2 words. Come on. I don't remember the last time I heard someone speak to me. I pushed until my arms felt like they would give out. The last stretch, the water pulled hard, almost spinning me away. But I reached the wall. Hands grabbed the rope I had tied to the front of the raft and pulled me in. I climbed up, wet to my chest, shaking. My hands slipped on the wet boards, and then I saw him. A man, older than me, with a beard that looked like it hadn't been cut in months. He looked just as surprised as I felt. You made it, he said. I couldn't answer. I just stood there, breathing hard, staring at another human being for the first time in weeks. Behind him, under the tarp, I saw 2 more figures sitting against the wall. A woman and a boy. Alive. I set my bag down and sat next to them, shaking, trying to catch my breath. I don't know what happens next, but I'm here. I don't even remember sitting down. 1 second I was pulling myself up. The next, I was on the cold rooftop with my hands on my knees trying to breathe. The boards felt solid under me, but strange, like I wasn't supposed to be standing on someone else's dry place. The man just looked at me for a long time. Neither of us spoke. I guess we were both trying to figure out if the other one was real. Finally, he crouched next to me and said, "You're the first person we've seen in 13 days. His voice was rough, like he hadn't used it in a long time. I nodded. My mouth was so dry I couldn't answer right away. He pulled me up and pointed to the space under the tarp. "Sit," he said. "You need to get warm." I ducked under and saw them up close for the first time. The woman has deep lines in her face like she hasn't slept in weeks. The boy looks young, maybe 10. His eyes are wide, taking in everything. They made a little nest out of blankets and broken pieces of cloth. It smells like salt and damp wood. I sat down slowly. The boy slid over to make room. I didn't know where to look. For so long, I've been the only one left. And now there are 3 of them, right in front of me. The man handed me a tin cup with water in it. "It's boiled," he said. My hands shook when I took it. It was the first thing I'd been given in almost a month. "I've been watching that tarp for weeks," I said finally. My voice sounded strange to me. Quiet. I thought I was losing my mind. "We saw you," the woman said. Her voice is soft, quieter than his. "At night. A light in that building. We hoped somebody was still in there." I told them my name. "Berto." The man nodded. "I'm Marcus. This is my wife, Dana, and that's Noah." Noah gave a little nod, not shy exactly, just tired. I don't think I've ever seen a kid look that tired. "How long?" I asked. "Since the first surge," Marcus said. "The water came too fast to run. We climbed up and never left." I told them about the voices I thought I heard. the clanging, the smoke. Marcus said that was them. They've been making noise every few days, hoping someone would hear. "You came alone?" Dana asked. I nodded. I thought I was the last one. For a while, we just sat there. The wind moved the tarp and made a sound like paper. It felt good just to be near people again, even if none of us knew what to say. "We have a little food left," Marcus said finally. "We share everything here." I pulled out my bag and set it down. "I brought some too, and water." He smiled, just a small one, like he'd forgotten how. "Then you're staying." Noah kept staring at my radio. "You've been talking to people?" he asked. "Just into the air," I said. I didn't think anyone could hear me. "We heard you," Marcus said. "A few nights ago, for a moment. Static mostly, but then a voice. We didn't know it was you until now." We stayed under the tarp until the sun started to sink. The city looks different from here. Higher. You can see farther. The tops of buildings look like pieces of an old map, and all of it surrounded by water that never stops moving. When the light started to fade, Marcus pulled a tarp over the opening to block the wind. "We keep watch in shifts," he said. "Something moves out there at night." "What kind of something?" I asked. He didn't answer right away, just looked out at the water, then back at me. "Things you don't want to meet in the dark." I didn't ask again. I just pulled my jacket tighter and sat next to them. It feels strange to be here, on this rooftop, hearing other people breathe beside me. After so many days alone, I didn't think it would feel real, but it does. For the first time in weeks, I'm not alone. The night here feels different than the nights I spent alone in that building. You'd think it would feel safer with other people, but it's heavier in a way I can't explain. When it got fully dark, Marcus took one side of the rooftop, and I took the other. Dana and Noah stayed under the tarp, wrapped in what blankets they have. There's no sound, except for the water below. It's slower at night, but you can still hear it moving, brushing up against the walls of buildings that used to be streets. After an hour, Marcus walked over and sat next to me. He didn't say anything for a long time. We just listened. Finally, he said, "You've been alone all this time?" I nodded. He rubbed his hands together, staring at the black water. "You probably didn't see what happened after those first few days. You stayed up in your place?" "Yes," I said. "I didn't leave." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "At first, everyone thought they could wait it out. You heard them yelling, right?" "I did," I said. "All the voices, everywhere." "They stopped after about a week," he said. "Not because they were saved, because most of them went into the water. Some tried to leave on anything that floated. Doors, crates, anything. The water took them. Others, well, you've seen what's floating out there now." I stayed quiet. "There's more to it," he said. "It's not just the water rising. Something's moving under there. You can feel it at night." "I felt the pull," I said. "This isn't just a pull," he said. "This is like something alive. Like the whole bay's become one thing with a mind of its own. Some nights you can hear it. It's deep, low, like the sound of the earth moving. It doesn't happen every night. But when it does, everything shakes." I thought back to that sound I heard weeks ago. That deep roar in the distance. "There are places you don't want to drift," he said. "Especially where the buildings open up below." whole streets have turned into funnels. You go near one of those and you don't come back. I gripped my knees tighter. Have you seen anyone else? Boats? Anything? Not for almost 2 weeks, he said. Before that, there were a few. People trying to get out. We heard gunshots one night way out there. Nothing after that. I nodded slowly. He glanced over at me. You made it here, so you know how bad it is. But I have to ask, why come? You had a safe place? I looked back at him. Because I couldn't stand not knowing if anyone was still out here. I saw that tarp every day. If I'd stayed, I would have gone crazy wondering. He didn't smile, but I saw something in his face soften. You did good to make it this far, he said. Most people wouldn't have made that choice. We sat there in silence again for a while. Somewhere far away, there was a splash, big enough to echo off the walls. Marcus turned his head sharply, but didn't move. You hear those a lot, he said. Whatever that was, it wasn't a piece of wood. We stayed up there for hours. Every so often, Dana would call out softly from under the tarp, just to make sure we were still there. Noah slept through everything. Around midnight, Marcus told me to get some rest. We'll switch in a few hours, he said. I lay down under the tarp, next to Noah. The boards are hard, but the sound of someone else breathing beside me feels like the softest thing in the world. I don't know if I'll sleep, but I'm not alone anymore. I opened my eyes when the first gray light started to push through the tarp. For a second, I thought I was back in my building, but then I heard someone moving on the other side of the roof. The smell of the tarp, damp and old, and the sound of another person breathing next to me. It all came back. Noah was already awake. He wasn't moving or talking, just staring at the open part of the roof where a corner of the tarp had come loose. When he noticed I was looking, he whispered, "I thought you weren't real." His voice cracked like it hadn't been used much lately. "I thought the same thing about you," I said. He nodded a little, like that made sense. Then he said, "It's better when there's someone else." "Yeah," I said. "It is." I pushed myself up and stepped out from under the tarp. The boards were wet from dew. Marcus was already up, crouched by the edge of the roof, looking out. Dana was sitting with her arms around her knees, her hair stuck to her face from the damp. "Morning," Marcus said. His voice was low but steady. "Morning?" I said. He motioned to a small pile near the corner. A few cans, some bottles. "That's what we have left. Been making it stretch, but we're low." I sat down with them. "I brought some. It's not much, but it'll help." He nodded. "Every bit helps. We've been boiling water every morning and evening. It's the only way to keep ahead of it." We sat in silence for a while, all of us watching the water. The current was steady again, pulling toward a place none of us could see. "You were right about that sound," I said finally. "I heard it, back when I was in my building. Something deep. I thought I was imagining it." "You weren't," Marcus said. "There's something out there under all this. It comes and goes. I don't know what it is, but every time it happens, the water rises faster the next day." Dana looked up. "Do you think it'll come again soon?" "Probably," Marcus said. "It's been quiet for a few days. Too quiet." I asked them what they've seen since the first surge. They told me things I didn't know. In the second week, people started making rafts out of anything. Some made it a few blocks. Some never came back. They saw a big group trying to make it out past where the bridges used to be. They said the whole group vanished when the water started pulling hard, like something dragged everything under. After that, they stopped watching. Most of them thought someone would come, Marcus said. Boats, helicopters, anything. But nothing ever came. We've been on our own since the third day. I asked them why they stayed on this roof instead of trying to get further inland. This building is tall, he said, and strong. The ones that tried to go early, most of them never made it. We figured staying here was safer. And now, with what's out there, I'm sure of it. We talked about food. They've been catching rainwater with buckets and boiling it. They fish sometimes using lines made from old wire, but the water isn't safe. Sometimes the fish are bloated or sick. You can't trust it, Marcus said. We only eat it when there's nothing else left. I told them about the supplies I left behind in my building. Marcus looked at me and said, "If we can find a way back, we should bring those here. More food means more days alive." I don't know if I'll ever be ready to make that trip again. As the sun came up a little higher, the fog started to thin. You could see rooftops stretching out in every direction. Far in the distance, smoke was rising again. The same thin, dark line I'd seen from my building. "Someone's out there," I said. "There are always a few," Marcus said. "The question is how long they'll last." We all sat there staring at that line of smoke. For the first time, I didn't feel like the city was empty. After we'd been sitting there staring at that line of smoke for a while, Marcus finally spoke. "We need to talk about what comes next," he said. "This rooftop won't hold forever, and the water keeps climbing." Dana nodded. She didn't look up, just hugged her knees tighter. "What do you think we should do?" I asked. Marcus pointed toward the faint line of smoke in the distance. "If there are people out there, it means someone found a way to make fire that big. That means more hands, maybe more food. We can't reach it yet, but we have to start thinking about how to move." He rubbed his beard with one hand. "First, we need to make this place last as long as possible. Then we figure out a way to get there." I asked him what he thought caused all this. "I never saw anything like it," I said. "It just came out of nowhere." He looked out at the water, quiet for a long time before answering. "The night it started, we were awake. There was no storm at first. The air was heavy, but there was no wind. Around midnight, we heard something out past the bay. A rumble, deep. It didn't stop. Then the water came. It didn't come from the sky. It came from the ground. It pushed in fast, like someone had opened a door under the ocean." Dana's voice came soft. "We saw the lights go out one by one. Whole streets, whole blocks. Just black. And the water came with it." Marcus nodded. "At first I thought it was a surge, like a hurricane surge, but it never stopped. It kept rising, and then the bridges went. The roads, the power, everything. All gone in a day." "Do you think it's only here?" I asked. "Or everywhere?" "I think it's everywhere," Marcus said. "When the radios were still working, we heard reports. Miami, Charleston, New York, even inland cities. Then silence." I told him about the sound I heard, the low roar that came and then vanished. He nodded. "I think something broke. Something deep. It's not just weather. It's the earth itself." We all went quiet after that. The only sound was the wind brushing against the tarp. After a while, he said, "If we're going to stay alive, we need to think about 3 things. Water, food, and moving when we have no choice. You brought a lot with you, and that helps. But sooner or later, we'll have to go further. I want to be ready before the water forces us. I thought about my building. I have more cans there, I said. A few tools. If we can get back there, I can bring them here. Marcus shook his head. Not yet. The currents are worse now than when you came. Give it a few days. We'll plan it out. The morning went on slowly. We boiled what little water we'd collected from last night's fog. I poured some of mine into their bucket, and Dana smiled for the first time since I got here. We didn't talk much. We just sat there together. That's how it is now. Sometime around noon, I climbed to the edge of the roof and looked back toward where I came from. My building is still standing, but it looks smaller from here. We're higher up now, and you can see how much of the city is just gone. You made it farther than most, Marcus said, coming to stand beside me. I don't know how, I said. You wanted to find someone, he said. That's enough to get you through. It feels strange to think I'm not alone anymore. Strange, but good. As the afternoon came, the wind started to pick up. The tarp snapped and popped. Marcus tied it tighter at the corners, checking every knot twice. We've got a few hours before it gets dark, he said. Tonight, we take shifts again, and we listen. When the deep sound comes back, we'll know it's close. I've been thinking about that. If the sound comes tonight, I'll finally hear it with someone else there. And for the first time in a long time, I'm not afraid of the silence after. The wind never stopped after noon. It just kept building, not wild enough to tear things apart, but strong enough to make everything feel restless. The tarp rattled all afternoon, and by the time the sky started to dim, the sound of it had worked its way into my head like a drum. We ate a little after sunset. 1 can between 4 people, and some boiled water. No one said much. You get used to chewing slow and not talking when you eat now. Afterward, Marcus checked the knots on the tarp again, and then handed me a piece of wood. For pushing anything away, he said. When it got dark, we split the roof like last night. Marcus and I sat on opposite sides. The air was so cold that my fingertips went numb on the boards. Every so often, I'd rub them together just to keep feeling in them. The city looked different tonight. It wasn't just the dark. The water had a shine on it, even with no moon. It looked like it was lit from below. For a long time, there was nothing. No splashes, no voices. Just the wind and that low hum the city makes now that everything else is gone. Then, sometime past midnight, I heard it. At first, I thought it was just more wind, but Marcus sat up straight on the other side. That's how I knew. The deep sound. The same one I heard back in my building weeks ago. It started far away, a low vibration in the air. Then it grew, slow but steady, like something heavy dragging itself through the water far below us. You don't hear it with your ears as much as you feel it in your chest. Dana pulled Noah closer under the tarp. She didn't say a word, just held on to him. The boards under me felt like they were humming. I could feel it through my hands. It lasted maybe 2 minutes. Then it stopped. No fade, no echo. Just gone. The water didn't look the same after that. It was moving faster, pulled tight like a sheet. You could see it swirling between buildings, little circles forming and vanishing. Marcus didn't say anything for a long time. Then he came over and crouched next to me, "You see why we don't go at night," he said quietly. "What is it?" I whispered. "I don't know," he said. "But it comes every few nights. After it passes, something's different. More water. More things pulled under." I kept looking at the surface. "Do you think it's alive?" "I don't know," he said again. "But it knows where we are. That much I believe." We sat there until the water started to slow again. When it was finally calm enough to breathe without feeling like the air was thick, Marcus said, "Tomorrow we figure out what we can build with what we have here. Something better than what you came on. Because when the day comes, we'll need more than a few doors tied together." I nodded. We stayed up the rest of the night, trading places so the others could sleep. The cold never left. The whole time, I kept thinking about that sound. I don't think it was thunder. I don't think it was the earth. I think something big is out there in the dark, and it's moving closer.